What is going on, everybody? So today's episode, we are going to be talking about VAT registration. Someone that I know literally asked me the other day, and I've noticed that it is something that crops up now and again where people will ask this question. They say, I'm not VAT registered yet, but shall I get VAT registered early? Various reasons they could have in mind, because maybe they've looked at a lot of VAT registered sellers, maybe they've looked at certain things about claiming back VAT, and they're just interested to see, is it worth registering for VAT early? And in my opinion, no, ultimately. But it doesn't mean that there aren't instances where that would actually be something you might need to look at. So I'll go over 2 examples quickly with products to show you the pros and cons for either being VAT registered at all or not being VAT registered. So I've literally picked out 2 products I've sold in the past, okay? And I am VAT registered, so I'll give you the example of me being VAT registered, how the profits change on products. And then after this, I'll also talk about other areas where obviously being VAT registered is a benefit. So you can see here, I've just picked out a random Bisto sauce, okay? Nothing fancy, just whatever. 2-pack of vegetable Bisto, okay? Looking at the sales graph, you can see obviously we had this really low $3.99 for a while because restock limits and all that crap that kind of came in, kind of crashed the prices for a lot of people because they needed to sell out. And you can see it started to recover a bit here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is put like $5.99 is the price. Obviously right now it's not that, so it's not worth buying and selling unless you can get it for like £1 or like less, which you probably can't. But you can see obviously in the past it's been, and you can see it's recovering. So at some point, $5.99 seems like a reasonable price. Not that it will, obviously you'd have to track it and see, but we're just going to go over this. So let's just put it in something like this: £2 to buy, £1 each or something. You probably can get it for 90p at some point, and we're selling it at $5.99. Again, this is an example. Don't go and buy this product because you probably, unless you can get it really cheap. And so my settings are going to be standard accounting, just so you can see. So if you're not VAT registered, of course you go ahead and click that, and we'll go over 2 examples of this. Because I am VAT registered, I will always override the VAT there to 0. What you'll notice is that the groceries can be 20%, they can be 0%, and also by clicking this, it's going to generically have it all at 0 or all at 20. Because some items are, this example, this item, it's not available, but it's 20%, it's chocolate based. So you have, that's kind of something you also have to figure out, like what's 20% and what's not. But I know this is going to be 20%, this is 0. And so I'll always override, because otherwise there's no way to distinguish. The system doesn't understand, the software does not understand the difference between this kind of product and this. And so I'll always just override for everything, default. And I really don't care about what the settings are. So we'll go ahead and click Analyze. So we've got 52% ROI, 53. £1 profit. Now, obviously, you might think that's a low profit, but obviously we're only paying $1.80 for the product, yeah? And again, you might be like, oh, it's only 95p, but again, sales are good. You could probably do 20 sales a month, that's £20. You do 200 of those, you earn the money, yeah? And then you just multiply that sort of strategy across the board. So, you can see, looking good, okay? Well, for me, maybe some newer sellers maybe would be like, I don't want to waste my time on it. Fine, we're not worried about that, we're talking about VAT. If we then go ahead and change this to 20%, so I'm VAT registered, I will pay no VAT, okay? Sorry, I'm VAT registered, I'll pay no VAT, but if you are a non-VAT registered seller, you'll have to be paying some VAT on fees. So your fees will be higher because they're add VAT. And so you can go ahead and look into total costs here. So if you look at the Amazon total fees, it says $2.89, and it will be different on this. If you are a non-VAT registered seller, it will show, because they'll always add VAT onto your fees. So I'm going to get decent profit from this, and you can obviously play around with it. You can just play, $2.20, and you can see what's going on. So I know I'm buying the product, and then I'm selling that product, and there's no extra cost for me behind the scenes. There's no VAT to offset. Then if you jump to this product, which is a 20% product, let's say that I buy this for $2, and luckily I was actually able to sell it for $14.99 because Amazon gave me back like 40 units they lost. But we're going to go to a more historical proper value. Let's say it's selling at $9.99. Now I don't know if you can actually buy it for $2.50. I have no idea what I used to buy. I bought it for, because it was 2020 when I did. If I was going to do 0%, that's a bit something more reasonable. That's a bit for, because I think this is a little bit more expensive due to the size of the product. It's going to come out at this, yeah? Again, decent profit. Obviously the ROI is not as much because you're paying more money. What you want to look at is that for me actually now, I'm going to have to be paying 20%. It's not 0%. It's 20, like I mentioned. So as soon as I enter 20, you can see this profit figure change. See, put 0. It's basically £1 extra that I've lost. So for me being VAT registered, for every item that is a 20% VAT product, I'm now losing a little sliver of that cost. Again, you can see 53p because I have to now sell the product and then offset the VAT to pay to HMRC. And again, if it was zero, of course you're like 3xing your profit. And so when you're VAT registered, you've got to be aware that that is a thing. But of course, if you're not VAT registered, you will not have to pay VAT on something like this. And there are so many products out there. You can, of course, get rid of the VAT and exclusively sell products like this where you're never worrying about VAT. But I would say that by doing that, you're going to really push away a lot of opportunity where you could be selling good products. Because come Q4, for example, this kind of product, you can see here the ranking here. This is probably selling like 40 a day, 30 a day. I can't remember what it is, just looking at this. And then just to verify that, the number of sellers just drops off here in like December. It recovers. Basically, the more aggressive that you see this kind of like number of sellers means the more sales velocity is probably getting pushed because people are selling out. I might have had 100 of this, but if everyone's got 100 and it's selling 1,000 a day, everyone's sold out in a day. 10 people have sold out 100 units in a day because it's sold 1,000. And so that gives me the verification that it's really not worth pushing yourself away from something like this if, for example, it doesn't become profitable. So, quickly, if you bought this for £5, yeah, again, you might be like, oh, it's 53 people. If I could sell a lot in a day, great, but it's not. It's 20. There's no profit. And if you're not VAT registered, this is what would happen. So if we then change this to non-VAT registered. So again, we're going to put the same scenarios in, $9.99. Again, you can see there's nothing to be put in here. On here, you've got 64p. And if you're playing on at 5, so you're actually making more money. So if we just play with this, I'll just show you the two scenarios. Someone that is non-VAT registered is making 64p. Just remember the 64p. And then, yeah, it's not going to, on cheaper products, it's not going to be as noticeable, but it's still profit. On something that's selling for £30, of course, you're going to notice that a lot more. $9.99, 20%. 53. So you can see the difference, yeah? And you can go ahead and play around with this, pretending you're VAT registered, and just see what the difference would be. Because I find that during the year, I will probably have a 50-50 split, or 40% will be like 20% products, and then 60. It varies depending on demand and that kind of thing. But you can see, come Christmas time, I find that products like this are so abundant in terms of they're so available because they are in high demand. So you can find them everywhere, good deals, so many variations of everything. Toys, this, because toys would be 20%, beauty products would be 20%, all those gifts would be 20%, or like hampers or something, or like gift packs, gift bags, whatever. All this kind of thing would be 20%. And so by registering early, you're basically losing a slither, of that. You're losing like that 20% or something for no reason. Because if you're non-VAT registered and you've got it all sort of sorted, it's like and you're making money, why would you go ahead and take less? But if you are obviously focusing on something like this, then of course it will be better off. Because if you have a look here, I'll go and do that same scenario again, just double check. 55, this is, if you're VAT registered, I'm making 55p. And if we go ahead, so just remember 55p profit. What did we do? $5.99, 55p profit, and now you're making, yes, 30p. So you can see me being VAT registered, I can make more. So for a second, being VAT registered, I can make more profit selling this product because I don't have to worry about all that VAT that's either not getting added or it's added, or basically I buy it and I sell it and there's nothing else that goes through anything. That is the transaction. And in terms of the VAT fees, Amazon will not charge me 20% on that, and they don't. As soon as you upload your VAT number, they don't do any. They just basically take it off straight off the bat. And so you can see if you're focusing on something like this, you're adding an extra 20 something, whatever it was, p onto this product. And if you're selling obviously an abundance of them, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and yeah, if you're still small, but that can be where you can. That's the direction that you can take the business. You just scale. There's a lot of profit that you're leaving off the table. But for me, the opportunity in the 20% product or something like this is so great. Easter, like advent calendars, for example. Like Mother's Day, all of that kind of falls around Easter. So you've got Easter, you've got Father's Day, you've got Mother's Day, you've got Valentine's Day for chocolates and stuff like that. It's like, don't close yourself away from those. And you might go, oh, but I'm not going to sell. I'm only going to sell products like this, not this. But I find that definitely as you scale, obviously the amount of products that you can find that are profitable reduce, because that, if you sold every profitable product out there, where do you find more? Because there is just no more. So obviously at some point, as you start adding and chipping away at the catalog and adding products that are profitable, it's going to be a bit harder to find new ones. And yeah, to start with, it won't be, because there are hundreds and hundreds. But let's say you said 1,000 ASINs. Well, now that's 1,000 ASINs less that you can go out and find in the market to sell, because you already sell them. And so I would not do that, in my opinion. Again, not only that, but being VAT registered, there's extra accounting costs. You normally, unless you can go ahead and do it yourself, but that would take time. So time is money. So, if you're taking a day to do it, how much is a day's worth of your time? Let's say you're getting £10 an hour, 8 hours, £8. And it all usually, like the VAT returns, definitely take a bit of time to do. And it is also a little bit more technical, because you've got to start doing, you've got to pay HMRC, you've got to start doing things like this. You've got to make sure you've got enough cash flow to pay HMRC, submit returns and reconcile your accounts. There's a lot more involved in it. But again, not only are we doing it like this, but you can actually then also, on the other side, you can claim back VAT on all your expenses that have VAT in them. So if you're VAT registered like me, then I can go ahead and let's say I get an invoice from my accountant for £75. That's how much I pay. But actually it's like £62.50, I think it is, if you remove the VAT, because I can claim that VAT back because I'm VAT registered. So yes, you might be making a little bit less, but if your expenses are really high, then what you can do is obviously claim back all that VAT. Let's say I have a 10 grand, 5 grand, prep service, whatever it ends up being. You can claim back the VAT on that. So actually the cost to you is less. Someone that is non-VAT registered will have to pay the full whack, because most prep centres pretty quickly will have a lot of turnover, a lot of cash go, a lot of costs. Like I can have a prep bill of 8-9 grand in 1 month in Q4. Well, if it's 85,000 turnover before VAT registration, that's not a lot of people like me before that company is VAT registered. Again, you can do it on software and services. All your software and services that have VAT, not all of them do, but a lot of them will. You can claim back the VAT. So you can go ahead and actually, in theory, make it worth your while if you are focusing on this, because you're not only making more profit, but you can also claim back your expenses. So you can be making more money being VAT registered. So I'm kind of giving you, a couple of examples, on different scenarios here, because you can make it more profitable if you want. There is a lot more work, but if there's more profit, then more work isn't necessarily bad. But again, you are closing yourself out the market. But then if your expenses are high, let's say you've got to outsource a lot of it, because you have to work or something, then you have high prep bills, because a lot of people might prep in-house, and there's going to be less costs, expenses every month for you, and so there'll be less to claim back. And you even like boxes and stuff, let's say you are self-prepping. Boxes, polybags, you can claim back all the VAT from that. Services, accountancy fees, what else do I have? I don't even know. Whatever has a VAT, basically, which is a lot of things. You can claim back all that VAT, but then you wouldn't actually be paying any on 0% product. So you would have, let's say, £800 to claim back in a month. To pay would be zero, because you will actually have nothing to pay because you're focusing on this kind of product. Again, for me, it's not necessarily like that. Definitely over Q4, it could be 70 or 80% this kind of product, a 20% product, and it could be 20% of this, just because the opportunity is so great. Not only just look at the situation that you're in now, because right now you might be like, you know what, I'm selling 90% zero, but things change. Seasonality is huge on Amazon and selling products, yeah? And so it's not going to be consistent every month. And if you could do it, you could in theory do it and make it work, but it just means that you have to accept there are some areas that you're not going to be able to look at because it might not be as profitable. Again, you're still going to be making money, but if you're non-VAT registered, then really it's not worth doing it until you do get VAT registered at the 85,000 threshold. Because what I would do is I would make as much profit as I could in up to that threshold, and then as I'm approaching it, let's say 65, depending on your sales per month, let's say you're approaching, then be aware of what I've mentioned and then transition. So what I mean by transition is that try to, as you're getting there, go, okay, well, we're going to have to register at some point, and it shouldn't take long, not necessarily. It should take within like 8 months to a year. You should be registered for VAT if you're kind of doing it, even if it's as a side hustle, like 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, whatever it ends up being. Because definitely over the Q4 period, your sales will skyrocket as long as you're selling the right products. And so I don't think it's like necessarily like a long. You shouldn't go, oh, it's miles away. It's not going to be here for a while. It actually will come around quick, and that is kind of how I would pursue these kind of products in terms of 20% and 0%. You can make it work, but what I found is it's never really, most of the time, never profitable, because when you're VAT registered, you're probably going to be losing between like 6, 7, let's say roughly 7 to 10% off of the top. So what, if you're making 10 grand, you're going to be losing an extra a year or something net profit. You're probably going to be losing an extra 7 to 10%, and that could vary. It could be 5 or 6 during the non-seasonal Christmas period, and it could be like 14, 15 at Christmas because you're saying a lot more. And so yes, there are a lot of ways around and offsetting VAT and doing like really technical things that I won't go into in this video because I've done other videos on VAT leveraging or whatever I called it. But to keep it simple, there's no reason to rush. Take it, make as much profit as you can up to that threshold, because as soon as you register, you're going to have to start doing a lot more, and you'll definitely realize that, oh, I wish I didn't, take 50p profit below the threshold, because really I needed to maximize my profit, and then use that to try to increase volume as you get through it, because that is the hard bit. As soon as you go through that threshold, you're losing some profit, and so you've got to now like do 120 grand, 130 grand turnover just to meet what you were getting before at the 85. And so some people stay under the 85 because that's making them whatever that X profit is per year. That is what they design. Maybe it's a family holiday, maybe it's 2 family holidays, 10 grand. That's all they care about. Very simple, and they just rinse and repeat. Obviously, the amount of time involved is a lot less because there's no VAT returns and stuff like that. Very, very simple. It just depends on the person and the strategy and the business that you are pursuing and you want to go down. And doesn't mean you can't adapt and change over time, but it's a bit more annoying to have to keep jumping around. It's better to keep a strategy, as annoying as it may be at times. And then as you approach that 75k threshold, and you have to then transition into this other way of analyzing, now you've got to look at 20%, is just to go through that, say your current stock, and actually figure out, what would be profitable, what isn't profitable, what was my average, just do an example. Okay, my last 3 months, if I was VAT registered, what would my profit be? Just look at those scenarios, just scenario plan, just play around with historical data and manipulate it to pretend that you are VAT registered, and then you have a look. And then maybe you'll be like, wow, I need to focus a lot more on 0%. I need to focus on a lot more, maybe higher value products so that the profit actually comes out more. Maybe I've got to focus on cash flow. Maybe I'm not going to I haven't got enough cash on hand to actually keep up the sales I need to make the desired profit after the registration period. I've got many videos on this, so you have to go through and have a look. I'm not sure where they are, but they're on the YouTube channel. So yeah, that is, at the very end of the day, it's going to be your decision. But that is my rough overview of how I see that question. Do I need to get registered early as a VAT registered seller? And I do know it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but there are some ways that you can be a sole trader, get towards that threshold and switch to a limited company, and then reset that VAT threshold, so you can kind of get like a double at that threshold. But I do know that may have changed, so you have to double check that at the time of watching this, and it's not financial advice, as I said. This is just my overview and opinion. And so yeah, that will be it. Any questions, let me know in the comments or on the Facebook group. But hopefully you got something from this. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.